Yo, what is good, everyone? Back with another video. This is going to be a in-depth guide on Google search because I see a lot of people make a lot of mistakes with Google search, and I audit so many accounts all the time, and a lot of the time people are running Google search ads in a very bad way, right? So this is going to be a full breakdown on how I'm personally running Google search ads, how my team is doing, and how we're scaling aggressively with Google search, right? So think of this as like a final boss of Google search ads video. So I named it the search funnel system, right? And what we're going to do is actually break down top of funnel, Google search, middle of funnel, Google search, bottom of funnel, Google search, and then competitor conquesting, right? So without further ado, let's get straight into it. So first things first, you need to understand the different layers, right? So first things first is we're going to have our top of funnel keywords, our middle of funnel keywords, our bottom of funnel keywords, and then our conquesting campaign. So first things first is top of funnel. Let's start with that, right? So who are these people? They know that they have a problem or symptom, but they are product unaware and brand unaware, right? So they don't know that there is a specific product that solves it. Here's some example keywords. Why do I wake up at 3 a.m.? Leg cramp causes. Let me just move my camera a bit, zoom in a little bit more. Leg cramp causes. I can't, best remedies to sleep, that sort of stuff. By the way, we're going to frame this for a magnesium supplement, right? Middle of funnel, right? So this is going to be the most scalable, and this is going to be a lot of the volume is going to be, right? So the solution category exists. So they know that they are product aware, right? They just don't know who to buy from. They're brand unaware, right? So which product or which brand to choose. They know that there is a solution for this product. So magnesium for sleep, best magnesium, buy magnesium. A lot of this is going to be transactional keywords. We're going to break this down, very important. Now, bottom of funnel, right? So this is typically people that are brand aware, product aware, they're ready to buy, right? So they're just ready to convert. And this will be your branded search campaigns. And then conquesting, this will just be different competitor campaigns, and I'm going to break that down as well. So it's very important that you understand this because I audit a lot of accounts, and a lot of the time they're mixing everything together, which is just the dumbest thing you can do for Google, right? So let's break down top of funnel, and let's start with the structure here. So mindset wise, you need to understand that top of funnel is a long game, right? Sometimes you are first click profitable, but a lot of the time, it's going to be hovering around break even or unprofitable, right? It just depends on how you're doing it, your offer, which pages you're running it to, right? But what's good about it is it fills a remarketing pool. So this is going to now funnel into middle funnel and bottom funnel. And I'm going to break down the ecosystem even more. And, it just starts to create customers that weren't even aware of the solution of your brand, right? So what's important is you want to separate your campaigns per problem cluster. So as you can imagine, people will buy a magnesium supplement for different reasons, right? You have sleep, you have stress, you have pain, energy, different angles. So first, understand your different ICPs at different angles. And then you want to use the Google Keyword Planner and do a bunch of research around those keywords and start bundling in, different keyword themes, have that in a Google Sheet. And now you have a good idea of, how to, or which keywords to target and how you want to start structuring everything, right? Typically, we like to test with exact and phrase match, but look, broad match does burn budget, but when you have proof of concept and you're getting good results, honestly, broad match can actually work really well with a smart bid strategy like maximize conversion value, right? So here are some keyword examples. Let me just zoom in a little bit more. So for example, for sleep, you can have why do I wake up at 3 a.m., can't sleep at night, can't fall asleep at night, best natural sleep remedies. You have some for stress, physical, energy. You can pause the video and get some ideas. But think about the framework and the mindset when it comes to which keywords we're going to be using, right? A lot of the time, these are going to be query based. So people, they know they have a problem, they just don't know what the solution is. Now, what is going to help out a lot for this is actually running this traffic to an advertorial, right? You want to walk a problem aware reader through 5 stages without using them. That's very important because a lot of the time, funny enough, I see people run these sort of keywords to a PDP. Like at that point, don't even bother launching the campaign or spending money. You're just going to burn money. Right? So a basic breakdown, I'm going to drop a video specifically on advertorials because it's a very in-depth topic, but ideally what you want to have is based on the actual campaign and the keywords you're targeting, you want to have a hook, agitation, a mechanism, solution category, and then a product positioning, and then you want to drive that to the PDP and showcase your offer and that sort of stuff, right? But what's very important is the ad copy. Now the ad copy, it needs to emulate and be consistent to the keyword themes, right? That's going to be very important because now you're going to have good quality score. Google's going to reward you with a higher ranking, lower CPC, and a better CTR, right? So let's keep going. So now in terms of, before I break down the middle funnel, let me zoom out real quick, make sure I'm not missing anything. All right, perfect, yeah. So now let's break down middle funnel, right? This is the volume layer. This is going to be very, very important. And this is where, honestly, we crush a lot and we're able to scale to great numbers with middle funnel search, right? So first things first is actually understanding the different types of middle funnel search, right? You can have a category search. So for example, people are, they're product aware, so they're actually typing in the product, right? You have comparison search. Bisglycinate versus glycinate, best form of magnesium, gummies versus tablets. They're just comparing their different options, right? What's the best option for them? And then you have your transactional search. So these people, obviously, they're ready to buy, right? So here are some keyword examples. And again, this is just a structure for the keywords. I highly recommend you do a lot of keyword research. In terms of ad copy, now ad copy is going to be very, very important. But the most important thing to understand about ad copy is this needs to be tailored towards the keywords you're targeting. Right? For comparison, for example, compare, for example, if you're selling a magnesium gummy, explain why that's better than a tablet, right? And it flex your USPs. And then this also will be a similar structure for the competitor campaign that I'm going to break down shortly as well. In terms of pages, what actually works well for these sort of keywords is a advertorial, listicle, or a PDP. What works well here is a comparison page. Sometimes we can do a listicle as well. There's some comparison listicles that work well. And then for transactional search as well, this is why it's very important to understand your keywords and which pages they're running to. Typically for these sort of keywords, it makes sense to run to a PDP, right? Because think of it like this. Okay, if somebody's searching this sort of keyword compared to this, who's more ready to buy? Obviously these guys. So you don't want to waste their time. They're ready to buy. They're actively searching for these keywords. And that's the great thing about Google. You're targeting specific keywords and you're able to see the exact keywords that get clicks. So that's going to be very, very important. Now, in terms of some metrics that you guys should be looking at for this sort of campaign, and this can apply to, honestly, a lot of all the campaigns, is first things first is your search impression share. Funny enough, a lot of people don't talk about this. This is very, very important, right? The higher, the better. Think of search impression share as how many slices of the pizza you're taking up compared to the whole market, right? So obviously, the more impression share you have, the more exposure you have to the market, right? Now, the lower it is, there's two important things. You can lose impression share to rank or to budget, right? If it's to budget, you can simply increase the budget or decrease the target ROAS if you're on maximize conversion value. Now, if it's to rank, this is where it becomes interesting, right? Because now you actually need to start understanding your keywords. Are they are the keywords relevant, right? Are the ads optimized? How's the ad copy? How is the ad relevance? So the ad copy relative to the actual keywords you're targeting. And then also how's the PDP or how's the page you're running it to, right? Does it load fast? Is it not clunky? Is the copy there good? There's a lot of factors that go into it, but in short, quality score is going to be very, very, very important. And it's one of the most important metrics for Google, right? Another thing is actually auction insights. This is very, very good. Honestly, if you're scaling aggressively, look at it daily. But just start understanding for these campaigns and for these queries, who is ranking higher than you, right? Which competitors are ranking higher than you? And a great thing you can do is actually, okay, let's say you got a competitor that's ranking higher than you. You can go over to Ads Transparency Center, go to, Ads Anywhere, type in your competitor name, and the auction insights will actually show you, copy paste a name. And now you're able to start filtering out the shopping ads they're running, the search ads. Let me just pause the video and actually show you guys an example. All right, I'm back. Here's a common example during AG1. And now what you're able to do is actually filter by time. So understand, for example, last 30 days, right? And this is actually very important for search, is look at their Google search campaigns, right? And then you can filter by text as well. And really start to understand the ad copy. Right, the ad copy, the headlines, the site links, the descriptions, and compare how many ads they're running, because these guys are massive, right? They're scaling aggressively. They're running 300 ads. I see cases where people are only running like less than 10 ads. No wonder why you're not able to scale efficiently and your budget is very low, right? And you're not able to grow your business effectively with Google Ads, right? So Important to look at this number. And what's great is you're able to rinse and repeat this. Obviously, this is a Google search video, but you can look at Google Shopping as well, right? And you're able to look at, just a lot of different things. So we can also look at YouTube as well, which is going to be massive when you get into demand gen, right? So very important to look into this. Now, you can look at conversion rate as well. It's going to be important as well. Obviously, transactional is going to have a bigger conversion rate. And then also another important thing is looking at the search terms report, right? Every week, again, if you're scaling every few days, every day, if you're super dialed in and you want to take your business to the next level, which keywords are converting, which ones have potential? If anything has over 10 impressions and at least one sale, really consider moving this over to either a broad match ad group, or add it in as a keyword to target, and then add it into a PMAX campaign and that sort of stuff. And this is how Google, you begin to build out a strong ecosystem for it, right? So that's middle of funnel. Now let's break down bottom of funnel. Now this is just like a no-brainer, simple campaign to have. And it's actually really funny because I audit accounts all the time, and like a lot of the times, these guys, like people just don't know how to run a regular branded search campaign. It's just shit, right? Which is just, I don't know how you can like mess this up. But ideally with a branded search campaign, your goal is to have at least 95% impression share at the lowest possible CPC. I mean, look, you're building for your own brand. You don't want to overbid. You don't want to inflate any sort of KPIs, right? Typically, I've tested this a lot of the time, manual CPC works the best. Sometimes you can do maximize conversion value with a portfolio bid strategy that's a bit more advanced, but for the most part, just do manual CPC. Now, what you want to do is, and this is where it gets interesting, right? Have one campaign with 2 ad groups. Right, I see people mix everything together. Sometimes we even have 3 ad groups. So what you want to do is have your exact match in its own ad group. So this is your known brand terms, your brand name, keywords that are tailored to your brand name. If there's like spacing, your brand name plus like reviews, that sort of stuff, right? Then you want to have phrase match in its own ad group. Now what this is going to do is you're going to start discovering more branded variations that you can add in to exact match. You never want to have broad match or branded search campaign. It just doesn't make sense. You're just going to, inflate your numbers. And then also make sure that you're only targeting your brand names, right? Now on the ad level, very important to maximize each headline, each description, have conversion focused site links, call outs, structure snippets, right? Look, you want to be ranking high. You want to have your quality score as high as possible. So, just flex as much as possible. This is your brand, right? And then in terms of, here's some keyword ideas: brand name plus product, brand name gummies, and then phrase match. Here are some keywords as well. So like these are kind of like work vice versa as well. Like brand review, for example, brand discount, you can have as exact match as well. It just depends, right? Now, in terms of some metrics, this is a bit more simple. The main thing you're going to look at is obviously spend and ROAS. If you're limited by budget, spend more, right? Maximize spend on this. But most importantly, it's going to be search impression share. So the target is 95% plus. If you're losing impression share to budget, definitely want to just increase the budget or decrease the target ROAS, or increase the bids, right, to spend more. If you're losing impression share to rank, again, this is going to come down to your ad group structure, your copy, your PDP, right? And then CTR, look, we see 25 to 40%. So, I would probably say minimum 15% or 20%, because anything below that, I think you need to really work on your ad copy. And then just keep an eye out for average CPC spikes, right? Like you want to make sure that your CPCs are maintained pretty well. Now, what's going to be important is actually just looking at auction insights again and understanding who's maybe bidding on your brand name. So let's say, for example, we sell a product similar to these guys, and we see an auction insights for the brand campaign, they're ranking higher. Let's check it out. Maybe they're running a campaign comparing, bidding on our brand. We don't want it to happen, right? So we want to make sure we're outranking them in the auction insights section. Cool. So now let's break down competitor conquest. This is a very interesting strategy. Not many people talk about it, but this always needs to have its own campaign, right? Because this is going to be a bit more, tougher to crack, mainly because the CPC is going to be, way higher. You're bidding on your competitor's name. And obviously if you're in a very competitive niche, selling a very viral product or a very, popular product, it's going to be tough to maintain healthy CPC. So what you want to do is you want to start with a manual CPC approach, or have a very low target ROAS if your account has data, and expect the CPCs to be higher. That's okay. Now what you want to do is have one exact match ad group, one phrase match ad group, right? No broad, that's just gonna, inflate your CPC, then it's gonna burn budget, right? You don't wanna do that. And then make sure that there's no, copyright BS or trademark policy BS, because some, brands and competitors are very strict on this, right? So Google will tell you if that's the case, then it'll be a bit tough to run traffic to that. Now, in terms of angles, here are a few angles, right? So you can have direct competitors, competitor brand A, competitor, B with their product, competitor C review. You can have alternative seekers. This is a very nice one. So for example, you have competitor A alternative, for example, AG1 alternative, right? Or competitor without fillers. And then you want to have a comparison keywords, right? So this is where using Google Keyword Planner is very important. You can use tools like SEMrush as well, but really important to just really do a lot of keyword research and look at the search terms report a lot, because that's going to give you a lot of ideas on which keywords to target. More importantly, you can actually get these keywords through PMax campaigns and Google Shopping. So leverage that and start adding that into Google search. In terms of quality score, look, don't expect it to be super high, right? But if you can get 3, if you can get 5, that'd be great. Average CPC expected to be a bit higher. Expect the CVR conversion rate to be a bit lower, but LTV, actually track this separately, right? Because this is going to be important. Now, quality score, very, very important. Hopefully you guys are still with me. This is an in-depth breakdown. This is literally what we're doing. So one of the biggest single levers on CPC, right, is the quality score. 3 metrics that are 3 variables that are very important. Your expected CTR, your ads relevance, your landing page experience, right? So you can actually look at this on a campaign level, on the ad level as well, right? For your different ads, right? So I broke down, what it measures and what to fix. For example, ad relevance, how closely is the ad copy matches the intent behind the search query? This is very, very important, right? How relevant is your copy to the keywords you're targeting? And then how relevant are those 2 things to the PDP or the page you're running to? If you can crack this, you can really start to scale and outrank your competitors, right? And then here's some targets. Again, it's not going to be it's not going to be cookie cutter for everyone, but I just wanted to throw it out there. Now, some advanced stuff is actually just understanding your quality score. Your search impression share, right? Always look at your search impression share, especially when you want to scale and optimize. Also, looking at the auction insights, very, very important. And then based on the auction insights, go to Ad Transparency Center and start looking at that. And then Monday, I gave a basic workflow of what you guys should be doing. And again, if you guys are scaling aggressively, every single day you should be doing this, right? Now, how does this all come together? Let me just zoom out. All right, let me zoom back in real quick. So how does it all connect, right? And this is how you start building out an ecosystem for Google search, which also, funny enough, feeds into the whole Google Ads ecosystem with demand gen, PMax, Google Shopping, remarketing, and whatnot. Let's just zoom in a little bit more. All right, perfect. So you have your top of funnel, right? Now, these guys might not be first click profitable. That's okay. But if you're running into advertorial, you're targeting good keywords, you have a very good offer and a good pre-lander, you should actually be profitable with this. We are profitable with this. But if you're not, it's fine, because this is now going to feed into middle funnel, right? And then the middle funnel is going to feed into the bottom of funnel, and the conquesting is also going to feed into the bottom funnel, right? Because now a lot of people are going to start becoming aware of your brand and aware of your competitor. And this is why the fundamentals is very important, because if you have a very good offer and your USPs are stronger and you can you can just crush your competitors, then it's fine to run top of funnel, because with time this is going to feed into this. People are not even product aware or brand aware, but then with time they're going to become product aware and then brand aware, and they're like, what, this brand has the best solution to what I have, let me go buy from them. And now you have a customer with crazy LTV, right? So that's just a quick summary of us bringing everything together. And yeah, that was the whole guide. Look, pretty advanced stuff, but hope you guys really enjoyed this video. And if you're still watching this, you're a real G, and I really hope you crush it. I'm gonna leave my links below if you want this done for you. Obviously I run a fully Google and YouTube ads done for you agency. We're scaling a lot of clients right now very, very well, and this is literally what we're doing for Google search. So if you want us to do this for you, definitely book a call using the link below. If you want to connect with me, check out my Twitter. I post a lot of great, valuable data there as well. But without further ado, that's me out, and I'll be back very soon with another banger.